Hello, today I'm back with a versus video. This time I'll be comparing two thrash metal classics, and those albums are Persistence of Time by Anthrax and Horrorscope by Overkill. But let's first talk about Persistence of Time by Anthrax. So this would be their final album with Joey until the band would return in 2011 with their album Worship Music. But something you notice with this album is that, one, it's maybe not as thrashy as some of their previous releases, but you still, of course, have glimpses of thrash on here, such as in songs like Time and Gridlock. But also, the album goes in a more darker direction. It's a bit more serious compared to some of their previous albums, such as State of Euphoria. But yeah, you have your more mid-tempo moments on here, such as songs like Keep It in the Family, which is one of my personal favorite songs from the band, and it's also really cool to see them perform that song when I saw them live last year. But yeah, you definitely get some of the band's best work on this album, for sure, especially songs like, again, Keep It in the Family. I also like In My World, which to me is one of their more underrated or one of the more overlooked singles. It's not talked about as much as some of their other singles like Madhouse or Antisocial or even Got the Time. But personally, I really like In My World a lot, and to me that song has one of Joey's best vocal performances on the album. But you also have Got the Time on here, which is still a live staple for them to this day, and another highlight on the album, I'd say. Pretty good cover. Belly of the Beast is another one of their more overlooked singles. I like that song too. And you also have the album closer, Discharge, which to me is maybe one of the band's best album closers. But yeah, Persistence of Time, not a single weak track on it, all around really great album front to back. I mean, I wouldn't call it a perfect 10 out of 10 album by any means, and I mean, of course, it's hard to make a perfect album. I mean, but Persistence of Time, to me, still at the end of the day, is easily one of the band's best, and of course, this would be a closing album for an era for this band. Of course, they would enter a new era with the next album, Sound of White Noise, which would see them enter the John Bush era, which I do like that era. I mean, I like Sound of White Noise, definitely a great album and easily my favorite of the era. We've Come For You All, I also like, not as strong as Sound of White Noise in my opinion, but still a fairly solid album. But then you get Stomp 442 and Volume 8, which I'll be honest, I think are their only turds in their discography. I never could get into either of those albums. Both albums do have a few songs I do enjoy, like Fueled, Nothing, Crush, Inside Out. I mean, again, both those albums have a few songs that I do enjoy, but for the most part, I never could get into either of those albums. But Persistence of Time, again, definitely some of the band's best work and all around. Again, a really great album. But let's go ahead and move on to Horrorscope by Overkill. So yeah, to me, one of the band's best albums. I mean, for me, it's definitely up there with other albums like Years of Decay or even Taking Over. Those two albums and this album are probably my top three when it comes to Overkill. But yeah, you get some of the band's best work like Coma, which is one of the band's best album openers in my opinion, and maybe a top 10 Overkill song for me. And you also have one of the band's biggest songs on here with Horrorscope, which goes in a more groovy direction. And yeah, with this album, you have your more thrashy moments, while you also have your more groovy moments, such as in songs like Horrorscope and New Machine, but you also have your more thrashy moments like in songs like Infectious and Blood Money. But yeah, you also get some really good deep cuts in the album too, like Nice Day for a Funeral, Infectious, Blood Money, Bare Bones, which I think is one of the band's most underrated deep cuts. I really like that song a lot. You even get a ballad on here with the album closer Solitude, which may be a song that I don't reach for as much as some of the other songs on the album, but still I do think it's a solid ballad and a solid way to close off the album. But also, Bobby's vocals, no surprise, are also great on here. From what I've noticed, his vocals seem to not be for everybody, but personally, I dig his voice. Definitely maybe one of the more unique vocalists in the world of thrash. I mean, once you hear his voice, you immediately know that it's him. But personally, I dig his vocals, such as on this album. But yeah, all around, again, definitely one of the band's best. And Yeah, and probably my favorite, well, honestly, yeah, easily my favorite of their 90s work. I mean, of course, you do have some other solid albums in their 90s work, like WFO, and I even like I Hear Black, which is a bit darker, a bit more groovy, but again, I personally dig that album. But yeah, Horrorscope, all around, another really great album. And yeah, it was released in a year that was definitely pretty crazy. I mean, you get some pretty big albums in that year with, of course, Nevermind by Nirvana and the Black Album from Metallica. So yeah, 1991 definitely a big year for music. But if we're talking strictly metal in the world, in the year 1991, definitely one of the best ones of that year for sure, at least in my opinion. But yeah, if I were to pick which album I like more for this video, I might go with, I don't know. I can see my mind, honestly, my mind on this could change at any time. There might be days where I might prefer Horoscope, and there might be other days where I might prefer Persistence of Time. But as of now, I might go with Persistence of Time. All around, a really great album. And if I were to maybe get a little bit nitpicky, I feel like Persistence of Time might have less filler compared to Horoscope. But at the same time, that's maybe a stretch, and that's maybe another thing where my mind could change at any time. But either way, both really great albums. But for now, again, I'm probably gonna go with Persistence of Time. But of course, if you haven't heard one of these albums, of course, check out the other album before you leave your thoughts on which album you prefer. But yeah, anyways, let me know your thoughts. Let me know which album you like more, Horoscope or Persistence of Time. Let me know some of your favorite or least favorite songs from these albums and all the good stuff. But anyways, thanks for watching. Please leave a comment and a like, subscribe. Have a nice day, and take care.